On Larry King Now, Academy Award winner Mira Sorvino reflects on the night she took home her Oscar.
It was so dizzying. You know, I was so new to the business, really, because My Day After Daddy was my 7th film. And, you know, some people, you know, hope for that moment their whole life. So I felt so honored and so in this kind of crazy cloud of excitement and nervousness and not knowing exactly how to behave.
Weighs in on the treatment of women in Hollywood.
In film still, you'll read a script and there'll be 7 good parts for men. You know, some of them are lead, some of them are supporting, but there's 7. There's like 1 female role. That's it. And they want to pay that woman scale.
Plus, Mira's joined by Monica Ord, the producer of her new film, Chloe and Theo. What is it like to see your film bear fruition?
It was 8 long years, so it wasn't just the film, but the whole beginning part lasted about 3 years, where we went on to the Arctic on a dog sled journey to witness everything that was happening there, to kind of be able to write the, you know, what was going on.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest is Mira Sorvino, the Academy Award-winning actress and activist. Mira took home an Oscar for her role in Woody Allen's brilliant The Mighty Aphrodite. She's also starred in such films as Summer of Sam, Norma Jean and Marilyn, and the miniseries Human Trafficking. And now Mira is hitting the big screen again in Chloe and Theo, a film out now in select theaters and on demand on iTunes. And later we'll be joined by the Chloe and Theo producer, Monica Ord. You still get a thrill when you hear that term, Oscar?
Well, that's always very nice.
What was that night like for you?
Well, it was so dizzying. You know, I was so new to the business, really, because My Day After Daddy was my 7th film. And, you know, some people, you know, hope for that moment their whole life. So I felt so honored and so in this kind of crazy cloud of excitement and nervousness and not knowing exactly how to behave.
Did you expect to win?
No, I thought...
You predicted? I don't remember.
I don't recall, but I definitely thought that I was, you know, sort of the young one in the bunch, that I was not going to win and that I should just be ready to be gracious to whomever did. You know, when they show the faces, when they announce the name.
Who do you think would win?
You know what, I don't even... Yeah, I thought, definitely not me. I just thought that there were a couple of other people that were strong frontrunners.
What was it like to work, everyone wonders about that, to work with Woody Allen?
It was great. It was, once again, heady and nervous-making because he had been my hero since I was a child, because I read Without Feathers when I was 12 and played it. I played the part Linda Christie, which was the Diane Keaton role in Play It Again, Sam, in high school, in a play at my high school. So I already had this big, you know, kind of connection to his work, and it was a thrill. I was scared to death. I tried to stay in character all day long, and then I was told by his photographer that that was weird, but I was afraid I was going to lose that voice, you know? So he said, you know, I'm telling you this because, you know, Wood, he doesn't necessarily like that method acting stuff. And also he likes people who are friendly. You know, he thinks you're a little bit aloof. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just terrified. I just want to obey. I'm just like a soldier waiting for orders. So the next day I went up to him, I was like, hi, Mr. Allen, how are you? So I just became more like outgoing and friendly, but still in the voice, because I was so afraid that I would drop out of it, because it was such an extreme choice.
So tell me how he works. Does he let you go? Is he on top of things?
Totally. The first thing he said when I read the script was, you don't have to say any of these lines if you don't want to. This is just a blueprint, whatever makes you the most real, natural, and funny as possible. And he did no rehearsal, and he would just do, well, a lot of the scenes were like 10 pages long, and he would do them with a master. I don't know if he's still using that technique, but he would, you know, have one camera, and he would dolly in, dolly out, zoom in, you know. So you'd cover the whole thing, like with one camera. And so you'd have to be prepared with your 10 or 12 pages of dialogue, and you'd go for 10 minutes, and then they'd call cut. And it was crazy. It was like you were in a play, in a way, and they'd do like 10 or 12 takes, and everybody would go home for the day.
Was it hard?
Yeah, it was super hard, but it was exhilarating. It was so much fun, and I got to improvise a lot, and he liked that, so that was
You'd
good.
like to work with him again?
I would, yeah.
Of course, I guess. Do you feel another pressure to win another one?
No. It was such an honor to win one. I don't really think of my life in those terms.
You started young, didn't you?
Well,
20 years ago? How old are you?
I started auditioning when I was 16 and a half, and I got offered a role that I ended up turning down because there were like 2 nude shower scenes in a slasher film. And I remember the director saying to me, "Are you crazy? Some actresses would give their right arm for a part like this." And I was like, like I just wasn't, it was just not my speed. But I really started working once I got out of college. So I was about 22 when I started.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Harvard.
You grew up in Brooklyn?
No, I grew up in Tenafly, New Jersey, actually. We started in Manhattan, lived there for 3 years. I was born in New York City. I'm a true, actual New York native. And then
I went to high school with your father.
Yeah, yeah.
Lafayette High School, Brooklyn, New York.
Cool.
Great Paul Sorvino, who still sings, I hope.
He sings beautifully. He sings beautifully. He's going strong, yeah.
What do you make of the current state of Hollywood, the new kind of celebrity, social media?
It's just everything changes every few years. Like film is now digital, emulsion has gone the way of the dinosaur. You just have to adapt. I actually sort of like social media in this weird way because it gives you the chance to have your own voice and to communicate directly with your fans safely. It's not like you're arranging to meet with a fan at like an undisclosed location, and you actually get to talk back and forth with them and be your actual self. So it's not like some journalist's idea of who you are. It's actually you being you, saying what you want that day or putting a picture of what you want. Did I expect it to happen? I never could have foreseen that the internet would become a big extension of what being an actor is all about. But I kind of enjoy it, actually.
Talked to a multitude of actresses lately. We've talked a lot about women in the industry. Have they approached equality?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the pay grade, the way that roles are written, like if you read most scripts in films, okay, television's different. I think television is this brave new world. It's much more egalitarian for everybody. It's breaking all kinds of gender and racial stereotypes. It's very, very equal, and the writing is really good. But in film still, you'll read a script, and there'll be 7 good parts for men. Some of them are lead, some of them are supporting, but there's 7. There's like 1 female role. That's it. And they want to pay that woman scale. They're going to pay their big male stars, however many millions, and then the female part. Yeah, we've got, we budgeted, $10,000 for this role. And you're like, okay, why is that role not important? Why are you doing that? And no one will ever tell you that.
How about in directing in other areas? Have you ever experienced, to your knowledge, sexism?
Well, I mean, sure, people are sexist. I mean, attitudes are weird, and people say odd things to you, and, yeah, sure, for sure, yeah.
Get used to it, laugh it off? You don't laugh it off, do you?
I don't think it happens much anymore, honestly. I think that was really more when I was coming up, when I was an unknown, so then people could feel like they could get away with whatever they wanted. At this point, you're a respected person. People are not going to be their worst selves with you. Yeah.
Next, Mira will talk about Chloe and Theo, her new film that's getting a lot of buzz. Stay with us. We're back with Mira Sorvino. Her new film is getting a lot of buzz. It's on everywhere right now.
Yeah, it's on VOD. It's in theaters.
And we'll talk about Chloe and Theo. By the way, your father, as we mentioned, is a close friend. I love Paul Sorvino. Is he doing a lot of roles?
He is. He's got 2 great roles coming up this fall. Like, he's really excited about them, actually. They're really well written, and he's pretty psyched to start shooting them, yeah.
You remain close over the years?
We're so close. We see each other at least twice a week when we're in town. My kids are, addicted to going to Grandpa's house, and we just saw him the night before last, yeah.
Is he living in New York?
He's bi-coastal. He has a place in New York, and his bigger place is here, actually. And
Did he encourage you to get into the business?
No, not at first. He did not want us to be actors. He said, if you can find anything that you like to do better or even as much, you should do the other thing, because acting has to be a singular obsession. It can be the only thing that you have to do, because otherwise it won't be worth it and you won't make it. He said, but also the rejection. He just didn't want to see his kids get into this moment of, being judged for who they are rather than their resume. Like actors, it's personal, so he didn't want to see us have that sort of uncertain, insecure life that he had experienced. He wanted us to become doctors or lawyers or professors or something.
We're going to meet the producer in a little while, but tell me about the movie.
The movie is
Chloe and Theo, and I'm in it.
Yes, you are. So you could tell me about the movie. But my perspective is that it's a very beautiful, personal piece that takes one of the greatest questions of our age that has been, obviously raised by the Pope as one of the most pressing spiritual matters of our time, that of climate change, and make it extremely personal, personify it in one man who is actually on the front lines of where climate change is really being experienced by humans and animals. Yes, it's a true story. Well, okay. It's based on a true story. It's based on a true person. This person, Theo Kumak, who's an Inuit man from the Canadian Arctic. And he and his tribesmen saw that everything is changing because the poles are where they experience the drastic effect of ice loss and habitat change. Animals are going away, new ones are coming in, but all the traditions that they have maintained for millennia are changing because they don't have the same things to gauge them against. They also have a high degree of toxins in their water, in their fish. They have very, very high levels of PCB in their blood, 800 times more than people here. And some places it's so bad they can't have female babies anymore because their hormones are so disrupted. So he was looking to tell people, hey, wake up. You have to change before it's too late for the entire Earth. And the story is basically him coming to New York, looking to speak to the elders of the South, and a group of semi-homeless people end up advising him that that's probably the UN. So he goes to the UN.
And who's Chloe?
Chloe is Dakota Johnson. She is this young homeless woman who's a runaway, with a sort of interesting relationship to reality. She's very quirky, and she befriends him and tries to guide him through how he can get what he needs to get done.
And who do you play?
I play Monica, who is a woman who is involved in trying to affect change on a global level. She had been in clinical trials of drug trials, anti-AIDS drugs, anti-cancer drugs, and now she's working to try and help the environment. And she hears him, she sees him get arrested basically outside the UN, and tries to help him, and tries to help him connect with other people that can broadcast his message on a true story. That's Monica you're going to meet later. She's based on a real person as well, Monica Ord, our producer. And that really happened. And the true story was much more horrible than everything we've even included in there, because it was so brutal that some of it had to be edited out. But she told me the story because I was like, why did you become this sort of do-gooder character? And she told me this story, and I said, that has to be in the movie. So I wrote a monologue based on it, and that's that scene.
Theo plays himself, huh?
He does.
No.
And he's an incredible actor. I mean, he is so still and simple and true, and he's really compelling and heartbreaking to me. I find him very wonderful in it. Wonderful.
After the break, it's a game of If You Only Knew with Mira Sorvino. What might the Academy Award winner like to tell her 25-year-old self? Don't click away. We're back with Mira Sorvino, Theo and Cleo.
Chloe and Theo.
Chloe and Theo. Been a long day. Is available now on iTunes, and you could also get it in special theaters, right?
Yeah, and
Select
VOD,
theater.
yeah.
We have some fan questions for you as well.
Okay.
John Crabtree on Facebook. What goes through your head when you hear your name called for an Oscar win? Do you remain composed? What is it like?
It was like a dream. It was like something happening in a dream. And I remember feeling, I kissed my parents, and then I got up the stage, which was right in front of us, but I felt like I was floating. Like I felt like my feet didn't take me there, that I was just sort of lifted, like hovercraft, like up to the stage. It was this magical sort of feeling.
Buffy Vegso on the Larry King Now blog. You seem to like indie films. Are they more enjoyable to make? Would you want to do a big budget movie? Would you want to do a Marvel film?
I'd love to do a Marvel film, but I started off in indie films, and I always have stayed committed to supporting them.
Joe Gailey on the Larry King Now blog. Is there a director you'd like to work with, and why?
Well, I'd love to work with Martin Scorsese. I think he's just such a master of bringing out incredibly powerful acting from actors in stories that people can't forget. So I'd love to work with him.
Doug Gallagher on the Larry King Now blog. Do you have any desire to work alongside your father?
Yes, and we have worked side by side a few times in the past. But yeah, I'd love us to do some piece that was really all about, the relationship between those two people. That would be great.
I'm going to play a little game of If You Only Knew. I'll just throw. Remember the first boy you kissed?
That involves my father. It was at the end of a Roaring Twenties birthday party at the Englewood Field Club, where I took ballroom dancing lessons, and everybody was dressed in flapper dresses, and I had met this boy there, and at the end of the dance, he asked if he could kiss me, and I said yes, and I think I was 13. And he leaned over and kissed me, and I remember I had ice cream on my mouth. It wasn't like a really, prepared, like, it was just like a, mwah. And my dad walked in at that moment and saw him kissing me, and I was like, oh, how'd that
Italian
happen?
father.
Yeah, so
Good
that was
luck.
my first kiss.
First music album you ever owned.
Okay, well, the first cassette was James Taylor, Mudslide Slim and the Blue Horizon. And I had two 45s, Delta Dawn by Hill and Reddy and Angie Baby.
What's that flower you got on?
And then album-wise, the first one was Marie Osmond, Who's Sorry Now?
For least favorite thing about Hollywood?
That it's about heat. It's not really a meritocracy. It kind of takes people and then spits them out depending on what's popular, rather than it being sort of like, but it's kind of like our culture in general, like what we do to old people and shove them into retirement homes and don't visit them, whereas in other cultures, like, wisdom and experience is revered, and those people are at the apex of the culture. In Hollywood, it's that same sort of philosophy.
Stranded on a desert island, 3 things you'd bring with you.
Can I say 5? my family members.
Pet peeve.
Pet peeve. Passive aggression. Can't stand it. We came from an Italian, well, my mom's not Italian, but we said everything up front. You had a problem, you confronted somebody, and you said it. I can't stand the snotty little passive aggressive way that some people communicate their anger.
Good thought. Song currently playing on your iPod.
I'm trying to think what. Currently playing this second. I have such a weird mix. Like, I just downloaded a couple of songs from The Bravery and what is that group? What's the other group? Oh my God, this is so
Okay,
embarrassing.
it's not a quiz.
Yeah. I have something from like Alt J.
Secret talent.
Secret talent. I have former talent. I used to be able to take my hands from behind my back and bring them all the way forward and back again.
Oh, no.
But I can't do it anymore.
Good. Dream co-star.
I would still love to work with Harrison Ford. That was my dream when I was younger. It's still a dream. That would be amazing.
Guilty pleasure.
Chocolate.
What you're afraid of.
Death.
Me too. Thing you'd like to tell your 25-year-old self if you could.
To enjoy things more, to not be so nervous. You look better now than you will look in the future, so stop hating the way you look, because you're going to look back at yourself and say, I actually looked nice then. What was my problem? But just to not put so much pressure on yourself, and to just relax and enjoy yourself and feel like you can be yourself with other people rather than worrying so much.
In our final moments, we'll be joined by the producer of Chloe and Theo, Monica Ord. We are now joined by the producer of Chloe and Theo, Monica Ord. You play her, right?
I do.
What is it like to see your film bear fruition?
It was 8 long years, so it wasn't just the film, but the whole beginning part lasted about 3 years, where we went to the Arctic on a dog sled journey to witness everything that was happening there, to kind of be able to write what was going on.
What were you doing before making this film?
I was in disease research for 10 years. I was the senior vice president of a biomedical company, and we researched new treatments that worked with your immune system for AIDS and cancer. So I worked in South Africa and Soweto, and worked all over the world, and had an amazing, amazing life.
Why did you want to make a movie about climate change?
It wasn't necessarily that I wanted to make a movie about climate change. It was that I met Theo in real life, and his story really, touched me emotionally, and I just wanted to raise his voice and his level to be able to.
How did you know he could act?
Oh no, we had no idea. When Esna Sands wrote it and wrote the beautiful screenplay, he spoke to Theo extensively and asked him about the information about what he felt and what it was like and all of that, because he didn't go on the original trip. And he finally went to Theo, because we tried to cast it. Try casting someone, an Inuit in Los Angeles, and you'll realize. And he said, yeah, I'll do it. But I don't think he had any idea what he was getting himself into, because he had no perspective to go through. And when he first got into New York, I realized what I had done, because we were in Central Park, Times Square. And he was holding my arm because there was so many people around. And he was like, don't lose me, don't lose me. And I thought, oh my God, what have I brought him into? It was very difficult for him.
She said he was terrific.
He did a fantastic job.
Were you surprised?
Fantastic job.
No. I mean, I didn't come in questioning any of the elements. I just came in, I loved the script, and I thought, this is going to be great. And I met him, and he was great. So I had not come in saying, like, well, can that Inuit act? Like, I was like, the Inuit is in it. And then I realized that the Inuit was the Inuit, but I didn't know it. And I think it's like, it's Inuktitut, right? That's his real...
Actually, Inuit is the culture of the people. Inuk is one. It's singular. And Inuktitut is their actual language.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Richard Branson, our friend, helped with this?
He did. In the very beginning, when I heard Theo's story, they asked if I could bring someone famous to the Arctic to travel by dog sled. So I made a list, and Richard was on the top. And I called him, and miraculously, he said yes, he would go. So a month later, we were in minus 45-degree weather traveling by dog sled, and it was a 3-month dog sled journey.
What do you make of the people who deny climate change? They deny what's around them.
Well, that's one of the reasons the film is so important, because people aren't moved by facts and figures. They're moved first by their heart. And so the problem with a lot of the information that's out there, which is so valuable information, it's facts and figures, and you can see there's still deniers. So what we were trying to do is boil it down to just one person's experience, so that you would actually feel something for another human being, because that's the beginning, and that's what we're trying to do with the film. But I can't understand it, but there's nothing we can do about it but what we've done.
What was it like to see her play you?
Oh my God. When she wrote that scene, I cried, because what she did, she tricked me. she saw the script, and she felt that it was missing the background. Like, why would this person help all these people? There was something missing in the story. So she sat down with me and asked me a million questions, like only Mira Sorvino can ask you. And I just answered them about, what was my background, and she asked, why do you help people? And I started to tell her some of the stories of experiences, and I've watched hundreds of people die in my lifetime, and when that happens, when you're lucky enough to experience that, you realize how valuable your time here is and how it's limited. And once you realize that, then you take every day seriously, and you can make more of an impact. So.
What was it like to play someone you know?
It was very interesting. I mean, I didn't set out to do an impersonation of her. I think I created the character based on the things that she told me and the kind of the generalness of her, but I didn't try and imitate her voice exactly or do like a historic impersonation. But I was happy that she liked it. Because, when she's around, it's not like when I played Marilyn, whereas the entire world could decide whether or not I was like Marilyn Monroe. In this case, only Monica could know if I was doing a good job being Monica, but that was very important because she was right there.
But she did an unbelievable job. If I ever do a life story, Mira's going to do it.
You keep in touch with Theo?
Oh, yeah. I just talked to him a few days ago. We're trying to get him down for some of the events. And we actually, to make the film have more of an impact, we actually set up a pledge. And so what people do is they sign the pledge that they will lower their carbon footprint by 25%. And once they lower it, they get it. It's free. It's called Oro Echo. It's an app that you can get, and anyone can get it. And they look at their carbon footprint, and then they find ways to lower it. So
once. What do you mean by carbon footprint?
Well, there are things that all of us are doing every single day, and the problem is we have the power because we vote with our dollars. Every time I buy something, I'm either buying it from a company that's doing good or a company that's not doing good. And so what this does is make you kind of more accountable. You can look at the things that you can change and make a difference, because it really is in our hands. We can make a difference altogether.
What's next for you, Mira?
Well, I have another movie that'll be coming out later this year called Daughter of God with Keanu Reeves. I'm very excited about that as well. It's a beautiful, fascinating hybrid between like a traditional police noir detective story and a kind of almost Latin American magical realism story. So it's like, it's this beautiful hybrid, and I just love that movie. So I'm very excited about that, A New York Story. Then I've got other things in the works, but you know, that's the very next
And
thing.
what are you going to be doing, Monica?
I actually own an e-cigar company. My next thing is I'm trying to get everybody off of tobacco. So John Paul DeJoria is my partner on that one.
Just saw him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and we have the cleanest e-cigar out there. It's called
E-cigar.
Citizen e-cigar, yeah. So
Wow.
tobacco's my next one.
Thank you both very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Monica Ord and Mira Sorvino. Be sure to see the new film Chloe and Theo, which is out now. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.